بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. I greet you from my daughter's home in Sheffield on this, the 10th day of the month of Ramadan, blessed Ramadan, with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And this video is entitled A Gentle Hindu Visitor. And I want to share with you that at the beginning of Ramadan, I had a gentle Orthodox Christian visitor who traveled all the way from Bosnia to meet with me in London. And I invited him to have dinner with me 2 successive nights. And we had a very pleasant exchange of views, no hostility whatsoever. And he was comfortable with my profile of scholarship. And we are going to be able to keep on exchanging views, he and I. And I shared this information with you in a previous video. And today I want to share with you the news of a visitor who traveled. He traveled from India to come to London to attend a conference on climate change. And he wrote to me, said, Sheikh, I want to meet with you. I want to see you. I want to have a face-to-face meeting with you. He's been writing to me for several months now. He's Hindu. He's from India. And we went out. I asked him, what is your dietary law? He says, I am a strict vegetarian, 100%. So we went out for dinner, iftar, to a vegetarian restaurant here in London. He and I took with me one of my students and 2 of his nephews. So we were a party of 5 people. And when we went to this vegetarian restaurant in London, it was a huge restaurant, and it was packed to capacity, and people had to be standing in a line waiting to get a seat. And we waited maybe for about 15, 20 minutes before we got a table at which to sit down. But I was dressed with my hat and my other brothers who were Muslims, and we were very plain and clear to all that we were Muslims. And yet nobody in that restaurant ever showed us any sign of displeasure, never looked at us in any bad way. We felt very comfortable in this restaurant, which was packed mostly with Hindus and maybe a few Sikhs, and maybe 1 or 2 Muslims apart from myself. And I told this gentle Hindu visitor, listen, while we are eating, no serious conversation. Let's enjoy the meal. So I ordered a meal of spinach with cheese. It's called palak paneer, and we had lovely naan. And we enjoyed the dinner with mango lassi, and then the local chai, the local tea from India. It's called desi chai. But they served it in a metal glass cup, but it was not enough for me. And I enjoyed the meal. But what I want to share with you is that this Hindu, who is maybe in his 40s and attending a conference in London, he was very comfortable with my profile as an Islamic scholar. He'd been listening to my lectures, and we were able to maintain a discussion, a meeting at that restaurant, which was quite friendly, with no hostility. And this is a good sign. And I said to him that, listen, there is a subject I want to discuss with you, and I hope that it is possible for you and I to collaborate and cooperate to taking it forward. And that is that the 2 peoples, the Muslims and the Hindus, in the subcontinent, the South Asian subcontinent, have to find a way to coexist peacefully, because the alternative would be nuclear war, with millions will die. And I then shared with him my view, and he was comfortable with it, that when the British were leaving, when the time came to get the British out of India, the Muslims were led by a movement called the Khilafat movement. And they were led by men who knew the religion of Islam and lived the religion of Islam, and who put the religion of Islam as the supreme loyalty, not the state, the religion. This is not a secular movement, the Khilafat movement. And the Hindus of India were then led by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and they gave him the title Mahatma Gandhi because they considered him to have been such a great leader. And the Muslims wanted the British out, the Hindus wanted the British out, and so Gandhi then approached the Khilafat movement. This is history no one can deny. The initiative came from him, Gandhi. He approached the Khilafat movement to form an alliance between the two forces in order to strengthen the resistance against the British and to get the British out of India. And the Khilafat movement responded positively that we would be very happy to have this alliance between Hindus and Muslims. This is history you cannot deny. Gandhi said, I have one condition, and that is that you must stop killing the cow. And the Khilafat movement said, fine, we agree to that condition, and we stopped killing the cow. And so this alliance came into being between the Hindus and the Muslims in India, and it was such a sensible alliance. And the initiative came from the Hindu leader, from Gandhi. And this alliance constituted the most powerful force of resistance to British colonial rule in the entire history of the British Empire in all parts of the world. This alliance of Muslims and Hindus. And the British were at their wits' end how to respond. The British finally succeeded by using Mustafa Kemal in Turkey to pull the rug from underneath the Khilafat movement's feet by abolishing the Caliphate. Mustafa Kemal didn't want to do it. He felt there's no need for us to abolish the Khilafat. It would be less like the Pope in Rome. But the British succeeded in getting him to do it. And when the Khilafat movement was abolished, this put most of the steam out of the Khilafat movement. When the Caliphate was abolished, in Turkey, this made most of the steam of the Khilafat movement was lost. And then came others whose names I will refrain from mentioning, who then succeeded in getting the Khilafat movement replaced by the All India Muslim League to represent the Muslims. And the All India Muslim League was more of a secular setup. It did not have the religious credentials of the Khilafat movement. And on the other side of the picture, Mohandas Gandhi was assassinated, and there are those who to this day celebrate his assassination. Pitifully so. And so this wonderful alliance between Muslims and Christians crumbled. And the secular forces on both sides took the story forward, and eventually there was a parting of ways between Muslims and Hindus, and part of the Muslim world in India then became Pakistan. So I offered this view to my Hindu guest, and I said to him, the man who then led the Muslims was Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was a British-trained lawyer who did not have any Islamic scholarship, but at least he had the integrity to lead his people. in a proper way. He did not have the knowledge, but he had the integrity. And Muhammad Ali Jinnah was very famous. He was known as the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim fraternity. He never wanted in his life to see a parting of ways between Hindus and Muslims. This also cannot be contested by anyone. It cannot be contested. That Muhammad Ali Jinnah wanted Hindus and Muslims to live together fraternally. But the leadership of the All India National Congress, the Indian National Congress, did not make it possible for for Jinnah to achieve his objective. And eventually they had to opt for Pakistan. I said to my Hindu guest that when Pakistan was born, at that time, the declaration should have been made that, listen, we did not want this parting of ways. This was not our preference. Our preference was to coexist fraternally. Let me repeat that. This was not our preference to have a parting of ways. Our preference, because this is Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim fraternity, our preference was to have our peoples coexist fraternally. But it was the leadership of the Hindus which made it impossible for this to take place. And so now we have this parting of the ways, and if we cannot learn to live and to coexist fraternally, then we're going to head to nuclear war between India and Pakistan, and millions will die, and it will be all the responsibility for that catastrophe would be with those who lack the capacity to think. So I said, let's think. That Pakistan, the leadership of Pakistan, whether it be the political leadership or the intellectual leadership or the religious leadership, but people in Pakistan should make the announcement to say that this was not our choice to part from you. And Islam does not ask us to separate ourselves. We can live fraternally with other people. Yes, that's in the Quran. If at any time the door is opened and the possibility is made for us to try to recover peaceful coexistence, we on this side, the Muslims, would be prepared, would be very happy to enter into that door and to negotiate, to bring about a means for rapprochement and reconciliation between our two peoples. My Hindu guest listened very attentively to me. And then he gave me his candid response. He said, Sheikh, I think it's too late for that. That was his response. And there are many who will agree with him. And what was my response? My response was that we should not allow that to prevent us from making the effort. At least it will be recorded in our name that we made an effort to try to prevent a nuclear holocaust that is on the way coming in a war between India and Pakistan. And he responded positively to that. He said, yes, it makes sense to try to make an effort, because then at least it will be recorded in our names. So I asked him, could you help me now to make contact by the internet with scholars in India, political scholars, religious scholars, so that I can enter into dialogue with them through Zoom meetings and so on, and let us try to see whether we can take this caravan forward. And I want to share with you, it was such a pleasant meeting with a Hindu from India who is so comfortable with my profile as a scholar of Islam, and who traveled to London for a conference and insisted, I want to meet you, Sheikh, I want to see you face to face. And we were able to have this friendly encounter. And here is a message to those whose hearts are filled with hatred on either side, the Hindu side or the Muslim side. that look at what is possible when two people come together who don't have hatred in their hearts. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.